It's chapter 2. It's all about Canada's justice system. To what extent is the justice system fair and equitable for youth? Welcome to lesson 2.1. In this lesson, we're going to talk about equity, equality, fairness, and a couple of other things. So stick around and let's learn something. All right, lesson 2.1. This is all about Canada's justice system, the beginning of chapter 2, the question that we are going to answer. To what extent is the justice system fair and equitable for youth? In this chapter, in this lesson, we're going to be talking about fair and equitable. But our two main focus questions in this chapter are, number one, how do Canada's justice system and the Youth Criminal Justice Act attempt to treat young offenders fairly and equitably? And what role do Canadian citizens and organizations play in the fairness and equity of Canada's justice system for youth? Those are our two main focus questions. For vocabulary, we have fair, equitable, justice, justice system, legislation, validity, community service, criminal record, sentence, rehabilitation, reintegrate, and colonialism. So let's get started with equality or fairness. We've got a cartoon here. We have the professor sitting at his desk, and we have a few animals in front of him. We've got a bird, a monkey, a penguin, an elephant, a fish in a bowl, something that looks like a seal, and probably a dog. And the professor is saying, for a fair selection, everyone has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. Well, that's not really fair, is it? Equality means everyone receives the same treatment. So the key words here that we have for equality is all, every, everyone, each. So that is a definition of equality there. So let's take a look at some examples. Well, some examples of equality are that all Canadians have access to free healthcare. Every child has access to primary education, that's K to 12 education. Everyone writing the same exam, let's say for a driver's license, and each Canadian citizen over 18 is eligible to vote. So that is those are some examples there of equality. But that's not really what we're going to be taking a look at. We are actually wanting to discuss what equitable means. So equitable means that some individuals are going to receive different treatment because they have different needs. On this picture here, we've got equality, equitable, and inclusion. I'm not going to talk about inclusion, but I am going to leave the image on here because it might set up a conversation that you might want to have later on with inclusion. But right now, we're just dealing with equality and equitable. This equitable means that we're providing accommodations when it's necessary because it's considered right and just. So we got the baseball game here. Equality is everybody receiving the same treatment to be able to watch this game. So these three kids here, they each get the same crate. But the tall kid on the left, and this is where equitable comes into play. The taller kid doesn't need an accommodation. He's already tall enough. He can see over the fence. The kid in the middle needs only one crate to stand on. And in equality, because everybody's receiving one crate, the shorter kid gets one crate but still can't see. In an equitable situation, the kid who's the shortest gets two crates so it meets his needs so he can watch this baseball game. So let's take a look at some other examples of something that is equitable. Well, handicap stalls, that's equitable. Differentiated exams is equitable. Seats in the House of Commons having more representation from Ontario and Quebec is equitable because those two provinces have a much higher population than the other provinces. And youth charged with a crime can't be identified in the media is also considered to be equitable. Check this out. I want you to pause here for a quick second. What color do you see here? What colors do you see? Do you see any colors, or maybe you just see something in grayscale? So pause the video right now and take a look at that. The last thing I want to talk about is Lady Justice. This is a statue of Lady Justice here, and she has a couple of symbols that are shown here. Lady Justice wears a blindfold. That represents objectivity and impartiality. Lady Justice holds and carries scales with her because that represents the weighing of evidence. She holds onto a sword to represent punishment. There's a snake at the bottom of her legs there. That represents the evilness and lies. And then we have her standing on a book. The book represents law and constitution. All right, I want you to head over to your notebooks and complete the questions for this part of the chapter.